Hello there everybody, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to South Devon. Today I thought I'd do something a little bit different for you, and we're going to have maybe a little bit of local history for you. I thought today we'd go in search of Devon's very first airport. I know it's a strange subject, isn't it? And then I thought, I'm pretty sure that it's fairly close to where I live. So I've done a little bit of research, and I think we may be just about in the right place. And it's not too far from here. Now, did you know that Devon's oldest airport was actually Holden Aerodrome, later known as Holden Airport, according to Wikipedia, of course, and if it's on Wikipedia, then it must be true, mustn't it? Well, it was established in the 1920s, as a private flying field and developed into an airport with scheduled airline services. It was also used by the Navy during the Second World War, and apparently it was a thriving aerodrome before the war. Now, there may not be too much to see on this video because I don't think there's actually a lot of evidence left of the airport, but one thing there is, just behind me, is a plaque that was put there by the Teignmouth Museum and Historical Society back in 1998. It's in the National Trust car park, very close to the old aerodrome, and we're going to head across the road in a minute. Very close to Teignmouth Golf Course as well, and this commemorates the existence of Holden Aerodrome. Let's have a look. And this is it. Took some finding, to be honest with you, but a little plaque to commemorate the existence of Holden Aerodrome. Now, this plaque records the foundation in 1928 of one of the first private aerodromes and flying schools by Wing Commander William R. Parkhouse, who lived between 1891 and 1969. So there's a little map here, and at the moment we're just here. This is the car park. This is the main road from Teignmouth up towards Exeter. That's where the car's parked. We're just in the field behind here, and we're going to cross the main road and go over and see what we can find of the aerodrome. And these are just examples of a couple of the types of planes that would have flown from here back in the day. And here we are. We've crossed the busy main road. You can just perhaps catch a glimpse of the edge of Dartmoor in the distance. And this is what would have been the perimeter road that would have run around the side of the aerodrome. And this is the site of the aerodrome, and this was the very first ever airport in Devon. So what's the story then, and why here? Why an airport on the top of the moorlands a couple of miles outside Teignmouth? And remember, this came way before airports at Exeter or Plymouth or any of the other big towns across the county. Excuse me reading my notes here, but little trace of it remains, so I said it may not be too exciting a video, but it's interesting nevertheless. Before the Second World War, there was a thriving aerodrome high above Teignmouth here in the Holden Hills. Aircraft regularly flew in and out of this airport, and thousands at times turned up to watch the thrills of air circuses that flew high in the sky above the little Holden airfield. But a combination of the Second World War and the eventual arrival of Exeter Airport, and also the altitude here at Little Holden, meant that its heyday as an airfield lasted only a few years. And now all that remains is a suspiciously flat piece of land next to Teignmouth Golf Club, which is just over there, and a few patches of hard standing, and the toposcope plaque which has been set up by the Teignmouth Museum and Historical Society, which we saw at the start of this video. And now, Holden Aerodrome was the very first airfield in Devon. It was established in the 1920s as a private flying field. It developed into an airport with scheduled airline services from here, and was also used by the Navy during the Second World War. And you know, in all the time that we've lived in this area, which is nearly 8 years now, I've never been up here before. Been to the golf course over on the left, but never been onto this part of the moor. This is Little Holden, and over in the distance there you can see Dartmoor itself, and I don't know if you can pick it up, but you can see Haytor Rocks on the right and Saddletor on the left. Yeah, so you can see it is a flat piece of land, and to be honest, in this part of Devon there aren't many flat pieces of land. That's why they put the aerodrome here. And there's got to be something. I know it's been a very long time since it was operational, but there's got to be something here that shows some trace of what once was here. Let's keep looking, shall we? Now, there's a bit of a wider stretch here, and I can feel underfoot that there would have been maybe some sort of stone under where the grass is nowadays. and it disappears off. It's fairly straight, so it could have been used as a short runway. Certainly not big enough to take large planes, although you have to bear in mind that over the years the heather and the undergrowth has grown up. But maybe this could have been part of the runway. I do know that at one stage there were actually 3 runways on this airport. Yeah, so we've reached a clearing, and I've been looking on Google Earth, and this was definitely a crossing point of 2 different runways as part of Halden Airport. So you've got one runway that would have come from there and then across up to there, and then the other one that would have come down from there where I've just walked down to here as well. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Dartmoor in the distance, and just over there, central picture, you can see the greens of Teignmouth Golf Course. There's another part of the perimeter road around the edge of the aerodrome. And now, this was the first airfield in Devon, as I said, established in the 20s, originally a private flying field. It developed into an airport with scheduled airline services and was also used by the Navy during the Second World War. And during its time, it's been known as Teignmouth Airport, Little Halden Airfield, and in its military days, RNAS Halden and also HMS Heron 2. It's very blowy up here today, so I'm not quite sure if you can see this, but this is an old map of the aerodrome that I printed off from the Royal Navy Research Archive on the internet. And just around the area where we are here, there would have been a crew room, ammo store, petrol store shed. There'd have been also a sick bay as well, would you believe? And excuse me reading the notes again, but William Richard, or Bill Parkhouse, ex-Royal Naval Air Service pilot, established the Agra Engineering Company as a motor company in Teignmouth after the First World War. Now, he'd hoped to expand by becoming the West Country dealer for de Havilland aircraft, and he wanted the flying field for himself. So in 1928, he rented 80 acres of land, that's 32 hectares, of heathland to the northwest of Teignmouth. That's where we are now. And there are not many flat areas in the region, as you can see, and despite the rough ground and the altitude of the field leading to regular high winds, and it is a bit blowy here today, he established the airfield on this spot. GWR Air Services set up the first scheduled service here at Halden. It started in April 1933 as a stop on their twice daily Cardiff to Plymouth service. They used Westland Essex airliners leased from Imperial Airways, and a suitably timed bus service connected their passengers with Teignmouth and Torquay. The service only lasted until the end of the year, when the airline was merged into the new Railway Air Services. And as well as that, Provincial Airlines run a West Country air service between Croydon and Plymouth, with intermediate stops at Southampton and here at Halden as well, which they called Torquay Airport at the time. Now, starting in November 1933, it ended when the airline closed at the end of the year. Then after that we had Railway Air Services. They started flying from here in May 1934, linking Liverpool with Plymouth via Birmingham, Cardiff and Halden. They're almost like a bus service in those days, weren't they? And then Air Dispatch Limited operated during 1934 from their base in Croydon via Portsmouth and Halden to Plymouth. That company was founded in 1934. Scheduled services eventually moved to Exeter when the airport opened there in May of 1937. It's another path here that goes onto a lower part of the land. I think this is where some of the buildings would have been. Obviously it's on a bit of a gradient, so it wouldn't have been suitable for aircraft here. Yeah, there was quite a few buildings here back in the day. No trace of them at all now though. Also back in the Second World War, the number 84 gliding school of the Air Training Corps moved to Halden Aerodrome. They eventually left for Exeter in 1946. Really is a lovely area for walking dogs. There's just been me here, apart from I just met one lady walking a couple of dogs, and that's the only other person I've seen here. But really lovely. It's a bit blowy because it's on high ground, but you can see Dartmoor in the distance there. And then just on the left hand side, just beyond Teignmouth Golf Club, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, you can just see the very edge of the conurbation, which is Newton Abbot and King Stainton. But all the while in the background, the moors, the tors and the hills of Dartmoor. Hard to imagine it now, isn't it? But in the days before the Second World War, they used to do air displays up here with different types of aircraft, balloons and other flying machines. And these events used to attract literally thousands of people who come from Exeter, Teignmouth, around Torquay and Newton Abbot to come and watch these amazing machines flying in the air. Quite incredible. Nobody here now, just me and the rabbits. So then, how did this story end? Well, in 1946, efforts were made to re-establish the airfield, but without any success at all. The land requisition from the golf club, which is off to our left, was returned to them, and the rest of the land reverted to rough moorland. All that remains of the airfield are a few patches of hard standing, which we've seen, and of course the plaque set up by the museum and its historical society back in 1998, which we saw at the start. The last time an aircraft used this aerodrome was in 1968, when a Piper Tri-Pacer 160 aircraft owned by a member of the landowner's family flew in, and when it took off, that was the last ever plane to use this aerodrome. Apart from Model 1s, which I think still do use the site from time to time. And to be honest, you could walk straight across this airfield without ever realising that it ever was an airfield. There's certainly no traces of it now, despite its very active past. The only way you can really tell is to look on Google Earth, the satellite images, and you can see the shape of the airfield, and you can see where the runways used to run. Can't see them on the ground, but you can see them from the air. Have a look. Just something here, and I'm guessing this is all the remains of one of the old buildings. So it could have been one of the fuel storage places, or maybe even the sick bay. Maybe back in the day you'd have got some unwell looking airmen sitting here waiting for them to feel better. Yeah, I think we've definitely reached the area where the buildings and the storage containers were. Here's another one here, look. Definitely used to be something there. So they basically just put down hard standing and then built on top of it. And then I just looked over to the left and I can see something metal sticking up out of that little clump of heather. Let's go and have a closer look. So here you are. Anybody know what this is? If you do, put a comment on the notes below. The only bit of metalwork I've seen on this aerodrome, but it definitely dates back to its aerodrome days. Why else would it be here in the middle of all the prickly heather and the gorse? So what would that have been? Maybe some part of a fuel storage tank, or some part of a building. Yes, I'm definitely getting a little bit more of a feel of the layout of the airfield here. So we're in the sort of southeastern corner of the airfield here, if you like. Golf course just over there in the distance. So this would have been the area where the buildings were, where the vehicles were parked. You can just see over here where another building would have been. Just nothing left of them, just a few inches of wall just there, look, and that's it. That's all that was left. But something was here back in the day. And then the runways where we've just been walking over there on the flatter bit of the land. Quite fascinating, really. And here's another one of the roads that the vehicles would have used. I don't think it would have been any kind of runway, but just looking underneath here, stone underneath there. So it's definitely been surfaced at some point. So we'd have had the buildings on the left hand side there, runways over there. So this would have been some sort of access perimeter road, I guess. Amazing how many different little paths are around the area. There's a path going off to the right there, which takes you back up to the road. And then another one off to the left, which would take you down towards the runways. One straight ahead, and another one off to the right. You can see that back in its day, this would have been a very busy area. Just us, the rabbits and the birds. That's all we have nowadays. Another old site of a building here. So you can see they all use that same white rock as a sort of a hardcore to build on. Right, I can see the road in the distance. I think we've seen almost as much as there is to see. And I mentioned we were right alongside Teignmouth Golf Course. Here's just the very end of it here. The very northernmost part, I think. One of the greens. This course, by the way, was designed by the same guy who designed the Augusta National course in the United States. Now, those of you that know me personally will know that I can be a bit dippy at times. A little bit forgetful sometimes, maybe. It's my age, you know. And yeah, and of course it wouldn't be one of our videos if we didn't spend at least a couple of minutes getting lost. And at the moment I really can't remember where I put the car. I think it may be in this direction, but might be a long walk. Oh no, looks like we're back on track. Oh no, we found our way back to the plaque. So we parked the car right here. We crossed the road into the aerodrome, which you can see here. We walked across to the middle. One of the runways was running top to bottom, another one across like that. I'm not quite sure where the third one was. We walked down and then came onto the lane by the golf course here, and then wandered back up here where I got just temporarily lost, and now we're just back just behind the golf course here. And by the way, just as a little finishing point, a few months ago on this channel I put on a video showing how I escaped the Mad Monk of Holden. I don't know if you saw that video, it's on this channel, go take a look if you haven't already. It's a haunted, well supposedly haunted chapel where a mad monk back in the day, back in the 1200s or 1500s was it? Anyway, hundreds of years ago, used to capture passers-by, throw them down the well which was inside his chapel, steal all their gold, and that's how he made his money, until the day came when he was accosted by somebody who was stronger than him, who threw him down the well, and that was the end of him. Anyway, there is a very strange feeling about that chapel. It's called Lidwell Chapel. Take a look at the video if you haven't already. It took some finding, but I found it eventually. Anyway, that is literally just over there. About, well, when I say just over there, maybe 3/4 of a mile. I'm going to revisit that again sometime because I found out some more facts about that mad monk that I want to tell you about, but I'll do that maybe in the summer. Anyway, we are done. Sorry it wasn't the most exciting video in the world, but I hope you enjoyed it. I found out a few things I didn't know today, and it's amazing that that patch of moorland up there has got such an incredible history, isn't it? And nobody would realise. Take a look at it if you're interested. Go on to Google Earth, you know, the satellite one. Find Teignmouth, go just to the northwest of Teignmouth on the main road up towards Exeter, and then where you see the National Trust car park, just look across the road and then you can see the aerodrome, and then you can see where the runways were. It's really interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again very soon on the next one. Take care, bye bye for now.